RPG 그대로의 RPG 불멸의 전사 2.
Welcome back, everybody, to the SPL on Monday, the last day of round number 2. We're in the midst of MVP versus Afreeca, and MVP is up 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, that last game, Gumiho against Super, was so back and forth. That game was crazy, but in the end, Gumiho did take that game out against Super, and I mean, this 2-0 position here from MVP, they're positioned to take this game series out.
They really are, especially with Ryung up against Patience. Patience has been having a hard time so far, whereas Ryung has been slowly but surely coming back into his old-time form.
Well, you got that up yellow arrow, so obviously he has been rising in form.
That tells the story.
Yeah. And if Patience does win that game against Ryung, we will see Bomb against Forte, which we mentioned at the start of the broadcast will be a rematch of their last round game.
So we are going to be jumping into this in just a bit. To be honest, if it did get to that Bomber versus Forte game, I think Forte should be able to take that one, especially the way that Bomber has been looking recently.
Yeah.
Not really looking like his round 1 self.
I mean, Bomber's the epitome of inconsistent, in my opinion.
He's like Deer from last year, basically.
Like, you know he's good, but you don't know when he's going to win games. And that's why I always try and avoid to vote for him in our predictions, because I just can't trust him enough to for him to take the victories. And like, it's really funny because like most of the time when I don't vote for him, he takes the game. So
yeah, that's my experience too, where it's like, seems like he's doing good, I should vote for him, and then he loses. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't vote for him, and then he wins. I'm like, okay, well, I just don't know what's going on, it seems. But we are going to be going into Patience versus Ryung here in just a bit. King Sejong Station, as I mentioned before. Looks like there might be some issues. We do have our MVP player still dealing with some stuff. So looks like he may just be still setting up, perhaps.
Yeah, so Ryung hasn't joined the lobby at the moment, but yeah, we've got a really good game here, Patience against Ryung. I mean, as you said, Patience he did really well in the SSL, but joining Afreeca after leaving Dead Pixels, he hasn't really shown the form that we saw in the SSL, where he beat Classic in the losers bracket. Yeah,
beat a bunch of great players, and then he goes up against Stats and then gets 0'd forward, and then it's almost like the Alive effect, where we never see him play well again. It's like
maybe there's
his passion was crushed.
Maybe they changed chefs at the Afreeca house or something, and then like it's a decrease in form for the Afreeca Freak players in round 2. But
perhaps.
All jokes aside, I mean, I love watching Patience play. He's a previous DreamHack winner. He has a lot of creative strategies. I mean, when he beat Classic in that best of 5 in the SSL, he used a lot of proxy robotics plays to his advantage, which was really cool. And you can argue that Classic threw the series by going for that weird gold-based proxy on Orbital Shipyard in Game 3, but you have to give credit where credit's due, and Patience should deserve the respect for making that far in the SSL.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you are coming in here, make sure to stop by the desk at the front. It looks like you can win some of those prizes and the balls. I'm not sure exactly what we got in there, but we also have it used to be called the T-World bar.
I think it was like the Pumba or something like that.
Yeah, the foam bar or something. Yeah, we got it up on the 2nd floor. You can get some drinks, some iced tea, get some popcorn.
Popcorn's good. Last time I had it was buttered. I'm not sure what it is today.
It's been buttered for like the last 3 times. We had like one caramel or something like that, and then it just became buttered. I guess buttered is like more the common one. Well, it's either standard.
It's either buttered
popcorn
or salted. So
yeah. That is the standard, right? Yeah. Buttered popcorn. Is it different in Australia?
No, it's okay. So we have colored popcorn as well, where it's like sweet popcorn. It's pretty rubbish, to be honest.
What is it, like blue?
No, it's like rainbow color. Like
what?
No, it's like a single popcorn is like pink, for example.
So it's like Fruit Loop popcorn.
Yeah, it's like Fruit Loop popcorn, exactly.
And does it taste like sugar? Is it
it's
real popcorn, or
I don't know if it's
just
popcorn or not, or it's just like colored. I'm not too sure, honestly. I'm not.
I want you to show me this. Actually, I want to see what this.
Maybe it exists here. We should make a trip to Costco.
It's just GTR.
We'll make a trip to Costco, see if they have it.
All right, guys, we're gonna get into our game here: Ryung versus Patience, PVT.
Yeah, I mean, Ryung. He did, as we mentioned before, he did beat Hero, but he got wrecked by SOS and Zest. That being said, Patience is not SOS or Zest, so I really fancy Ryung's chances in this game.
Yeah. That definitely is possible. I feel like Patience could throw out a really weird build for sure. These guys are 16 and 16 lifetime against each other. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, well, these guys were champions of online cups and foreign tournaments, so
they're like the old gods, right? Like that new Hearthstone expansion. They're the old gods here. Patience, Ryung.
So Ryung's like Cthulhu, and I don't know who the other guys are.
Yeah, I voted for Patience here. I've got a funky feeling tonight. Something like that.
Kanar's been feeling funky as well.
Pretty much. Let's jump into game number 3, guys. Patience versus Ryung.
Looks like we're not going straight into the game.
Tonight is just a night of surprises, GTR.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Looks like the army of Kesper referees are in the booth as well.
Yeah, we got like 3 ADs in there as well. Looks like maybe it's fixed now.
What was he spamming in the chat? Maybe that will explain some stuff.
I think it's just it's
okay,
ASC,
his sound was
ASD.
wrong. Yeah, his sound was screwed up. Okay, now we're going to get into the game here.
Okay, so much for the epic intro, guys. Here's game number 3. Down here in the bottom right, in the purple, the Pernos player, he is Patience.
And spawning here at the top left as the light blue Terran, 4-team MVP, it is Ryung. Ryung.
What is that face? That doesn't make me feel good, GTR.
Yeah, I don't know. Ryung likes to make a lot of faces, so. We saw a TVP on this map, I believe it was Reality versus Classic, where Reality did that really sick proxy factory with the proxy Starcraft build, and he completely crushed Classic with it. But I don't think Ryung's that kind of player that he'll try and do that sort of build. I think he'll just try and play a straight up game here. And we also see here from Patience is going for that early probe scout that we saw in the previous game, so maybe we'll see a gas steal again.
Just to echo your thought, I feel like especially Ryung should feel like he is the favorite player in here, especially with Patience's results so far. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryung just goes for a straight up macro game, as you were saying. This probe, this has become more popular recently. You see these guys, they don't necessarily have to go for the gas steal, but just putting on this extra added pressure, you get the scout just to make sure, and then you also can harass a bit.
I guess also with the new changes in Lexi Void, how you spawn with core workers, you can take that sacrifice and send that probe earlier than you would in, say, Wings of Liberty and Harvest Swarm.
Yeah.
You won't take that much of an economic hit compared to those iterations of StarCraft 2, so I guess that early probe has been becoming a thing now.
Oh, he could come in. Oh, well, he could go down to that. Well, Marine pops out, so never mind.
Yeah, we see that reactor. So similar builds to what Gumiho did. Wouldn't be surprised if actually he does the same build as Gumiho. They are on the same team, of course. So maybe they figured out that this early Raven tank reactor Marine build is the best build for this matchup with the current meta right now.
And you know what? I mean, that third base is farther away. It's farther away from both players, but getting up into the natural on this map is a lot easier than on Orbital Shipyard, where you have that backdoor base. It's even got the backdoor rock, so you can put tanks behind there and get some vision with your Raven, or maybe you don't even go for Raven. Maybe you just go for Medivacs this time and try to put on pressure on that natural.
Yeah, as you mentioned, just like Orbital Shipyard, you have those backdoor rocks. It's very easy to siege upon your opponent underneath those rocks. And we saw in that game with Reality against Classic how he used a bunker to try and leapfrog and try and do damage to Classic. And we might see some bunker play from Ryung. I'm not too sure, but we see the expansion here for Ryung is nearly done. The Mothership core will be coming out, and no surprises here from Patient is going for the Twilight Council in that robotics facility.
Yeah, and at the same time, it looks like Ryung wasn't really able to get a full scout, so he's sending that SCV all around the map, at least around the left side for now. And he's actually going to build a supply depot over here. I thought it was something else. It looked bigger on the minimap. I'm like, is that an extra starport?
It looks like this Mothership core is going to sneak his way in, or sneak her way into the base, rather. And yeah, we see that we don't mind coming out here. from Ryung, he's also got that tech lab built, and that Mothership Core is going to get away, but it's going to take its shield damage. And yeah, similar build here from Ryung compared to Gumiho in the previous game.
We did just get a shot of the vision there. He basically saw nothing.
There's that Raven, and then this Raven with those Marines are probably going to snipe this Observer if Patience is not careful with it.
Well, we do have this SCV still out on the map. Could make some more supply depots just to be safe. I like the way that he's making the supply depots, just like Protoss players just make the pylons on the edge of the map just to spot any incoming drops coming in.
Yeah, so it looks like this Mothership Core is going to move back to the expansion, and it feels like I'm watching Gumiho play this matchup here. It's the exact same build. I don't really see any deviations from what Gumiho did in the previous game, honestly.
For sure.
He's got the Raven, and he's got the factory with the tech lab. He's probably going to get that siege tank out to help defense.
Yeah, and the build out of Patience is kind of similar. Yeah, it's like, you know, eventually you do get that third base, and the blink is there for the safety. No War Prism just yet. He's just been making lots of observers, 3 so far.
Well, actually, nice move here from Patience. He's not actually sending his observer directly across to Ryung's base. He's actually going to sneak it around, and he's going to be able to count the production facilities of Ryung. And it seems that Ryung isn't aware of this observer. It's going to sit there until the Raven goes over and protects it.
Looks like he's identified this. As you were saying, Observer goes in. He's breaking down those back rocks now to prepare for this kind of play. He's also sending an Adept over here just to make sure there's no third base, to make sure that, you know, all the scouting that he's done is in fact correct. So I feel like Patience could not be more prepared for a build like this. But then again, we do need to see how he does execute against something like this. He has to be on point with his micro and just his unit control in general. Yeah,
note that compared to what Super did in the previous game, only the 1 Forge here from Patience. So he's not going to be really greedy trying to get those double upgrades. And he sees that Observer, Ryung, but not able to snipe it. And I'm pretty sure we'll probably see a push out here once those combat shields finish. I'm not too sure if
it's got to be a timing with the stim +1 combat shields. Everything is lining up here, and I'm kind of worried for Patience. He hasn't made any extra gateways. He's sitting on only 3. He's got a nice ball of Blink Stalkers here, and it looks like he wants to do some harass, but I'd love to see him try to get that production online as this push comes across.
Oh, he actually lifts up the Widow Mine. Okay, he's just repositioning it right there, which is a
good
move, but it looks like might be some multi-pronged harassment here from Patience with these Blink Stalkers here on the left and the Warp Prism on the right.
It looks like something has tipped him off. Maybe that Observer was in range to see that Widow Mine, so he's like, no, I'm not going for that. I'll just break down your back rocks. And now he's adding those 6 gates, and he's got that Resonating Glaives upgrade on the line too with the +1. And this push, I feel like, is hitting a lot slower for Ryung, to be honest. I feel like Patience should be ready for this.
It feels like Ryung just sat on... I think he was really concerned with these Blink Stalkers just doing the critical damage that he couldn't deal with.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. The timing we were talking about is now here, but he's not across the map, you know, like, as you said.
The problem is the gateways are up for Patience. He's completely lost his timing, but he's got to get this Warp Prism, but honestly, that's just peanuts compared... He's stuck on 2 bases. He hasn't even thought of building Command Center yet, and for Patience, he's looking very comfortable. He's got that 3rd base nicely saturated. He's got the upgrades going on the Forge, and he's got all those gateways up that he can easily reinforce in case of an attack. And we see here the Medivacs are lifting those tanks, but I think it's just too late of a timing here. The anti-timing, I guess.
Yeah, let's see how he wants to try to go for this kind of timing. You're talking about how it is an anti-timing. I feel like these Stalkers could even try to blink and get some of those, but it looks like they're just going to be safe. He sees the attack coming way far ahead, and he can force them to drop down the tanks over and over. He can blink, harass against all these Marines. Patience is in a really nice spot as long as he doesn't lose any of these Stalkers.
Yeah, Patience just needs to be really careful with these Blink Stalkers because he can delay this attack.
He's going for like a base trade. He's like going around this army. He's like, no, I'm not going to fight you.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if this is the best decision because he can just siege out. He's got Liberators out as well. There's no way he can break through that with those 2 Liberators. But so many Marines here as well. I'm not sure if this is the best move here for Patience.
Look at the army on the left side. It's going to be totally cut off. It's all alone.
Oh, these siege tanks are just going to do so much damage to these Adepts. The Immortals are forced to use that barrier. And there is like some attack here happening here from Patience with these Blink Stalkers. And, I mean, it's doing a good job of delaying Ryung's push, but I mean, these
Look at
Immortals.
this.
These
Immortals against Marines, and all the barriers are down.
Those Immortals are so expensive. They're very expensive units, so you definitely do not want to be losing those in this situation. It feels like Patience just gave this game back to Ryung on a
you're exactly right. And looks like he does kill the engineering bay that was upgrading +1, and he is continuing to attack with only Blink Stalkers, but across the map comes the army of Ryung, and that is not an easy army to deal with.
Yeah, here comes the push, but as you said, that engineering bay with that +1 armor was cancelled, but I don't think it really matters at this point. If Ryung could do the critical damage to win this game, then
well, let's see. That's a really big Protoss army, but the tank's getting a really nice position there, actually behind the force fields.
Yeah, a really nice angle there from the tanks, dropping it in that little nook there, and it's forcing the pylon overcharges. The time warp is delaying this push slightly.
Oh, look at this. He's gonna warp in here and blink from the back and attack from the front at the same time. Here he comes.
Oh, the
PDD's come down.
Oh, the PDD is sick. It's gonna deflect all those attacks, but is it enough? Here comes the Liberators here, but they're not deploying, and Ryung's actually sending some units in from his main base. Marauders, Marines, and oh wow.
Oh, this is so close.
I mean, so close.
Another really close game. There's only one tank left over, and here comes the blink underneath both the Liberators. Snipes both of them, but he doesn't have all that much left over.
And that one tank is doing a lot of damage here, the splash damage, but there's two Immortals though.
He kills the tank before he can lift it up, and he holds. Patience is gonna hold the fight here. Hold the attack off, and now he's got Blink Stalkers on the chase.
And the good thing here from Patient is that he didn't lose any workers at all. He's still got those 3 bases saturated. Ryung hasn't even, I don't think, he's built a command center yet, so I think the pendulum swung back in Patient's favor.
Yeah, it really did, and now Patience on the chase. He's getting so many of these units, even harassing units, having to be surrounded by SCVs. Only now is he lifting that main CC to the 3rd base.
Yeah, Patience does not need to overextend here. Just needs to deny that 3rd base. Probably force fields or something like that on the ramp. We'll just have to wait and see how he deals with this. But once he shuts down that expansion here, it's going to be really hard for Ryung to come back to this game.
Yeah, well, Liberator's coming over here trying to help out. Mainly only Marines in this composition, but he can force those Liberators to siege up, essentially, and try to come from behind. It looks like that's what he wants to do.
Oh, it tries to snipe the Liberator there. Scan on the army. Not sure what that was for.
He's like, are you still here? Yes, you're still here. Okay.
That's been ticked. But, really bad fight there from Patience. Taking a lot of damage. And but these Adepts, though, just sneaking into the back. Yeah, any SMVs that...
They're just running in. They're not even shading in. They're like, yeah, this is our house now.
I mean, I don't know why those depots weren't lifted up, but...
Well, a lot of stuff happening in this game. Now Patience trying to get a position here on the ramp. This may actually be counterproductive here, as a really nice concave for Ryung is present, but a lot of units here for both players.
Though. And I think with these Adepts, it's going to be able to get out of there in time. But you see that army count here, actually, Patience is around 20 supply behind in terms of army, but the situation's so dicey for Ryung. He can't really push out now because the threat of that expansion could be... It's very vulnerable right now.
Yeah, Patience does have to be careful. You know, as you were saying, the army supply is actually higher for Ryung, so as long as he doesn't throw his entire army away, Patience is a mile ahead. 67 to 22 workers right now, and it looks like he may have identified this now. He's sitting back at this 4th base. It looks like he may be sending out something like a warp prism, and he is going to try to harass that 3rd base that is totally undefended as Ryung moves across and tries to go for one final attack.
Oh, I love this move here from Patience, trying to cut off that army. Nice force fields here, dividing the army of Ryung, and it's just being able to pick off these units left and right.
And at the same time, all mining has been denied at that 3rd base. That's the last mining base for Ryung.
Yeah, this is the last army that Ryung can control. I don't think he's going to be able to pull any Gumiho miracles here. I mean, we've got these bases just fully saturated from Patience here, and this is going to be swimming in money.
Here we go. Blink in, kills the Liberator, and that's the rest of it. That's all he's got left over. He's going to try to lift, try to come into this 2nd base here, the natural, and he should be able to get some damage done. This is, in fact, a nice move by Ryung.
Oh, it cleans up the Adepts there at the 3rd base, but the Orbital Command will be fleeing back there to the 3rd, but Look at the worker count, 24 to 55. It's just such a disparity.
Yeah, and all 24 workers aren't even at the 3rd base. I think this is going to be the last fight. Force field's coming down, the rest of the army, and GG, Patience. He keeps their hopes alive and kind of makes this hard for MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryung just imploded that game. He lost. It boggles my mind why he did not push out once those upgrades finished or were about to finish. He just waited too long and allowed for he allowed Patience to get those gateways up. B, allow him to get the third base up and get those upgrades up. And once he got those up, Patience could just easily defend from the timing that Ryung was thinking about doing.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. It was just like an anti-timing, right? It was so sloppy. It was one of the sloppiest games we've ever seen, actually. Patience losing half his army at the same time, trying to delay the push that was like a half a minute late. You know, it was just kind of all over the place, to be honest. But at the end of the day, Patience does take that win. Ryung looks very unhappy about this loss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure why he didn't decide to push it. I think it was because of the way that Patience was applying pressure onto Ryung with those Blink Stalkers. It just flustered Ryung at that time, and I guess he just completely forgot about what he was supposed to do, which was that timing attack.
Well, Patience looking pretty happy in that booth, and this does mean, guys, we are going to see that fourth game, Bomber versus Forte.
And I guess you voted for Patience, right?
Yeah, me and Kanata. Kanata, I think, has gotten every single one, right? No, he lost Super.
One,
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, this prediction race is very tight right now.
It's really tight. I think I'm tied now with Wolf, but I'm ahead of Daehyun. I think that's the way it works out because Daehyun actually voted for Ryung there.
Yeah, for Ryung, yeah.
But game format, anything can happen. I voted against Bomber, but I'm like, what if he shows up today? I don't know. He could be on, really on point today and he just crushes Forte. That could happen, but I also feel like what could happen is that he's totally off his game and Forte just takes an easy win.
Yeah, well, we see Bomber, we'll talk about his inconsistency. We see him do awesome games against players like Dark, where he just completely wrecks Dark on Dust Towers. If you haven't seen that game, go watch that. And then there was another game, I believe he was playing against Stats on Prion Terraces, and he did that really weird proxy build. And that game was awful.
I had erased that from my memory, and
Yes.
you just brought it back to me. That was, oh my god! I think that was like his first or second game too, so it was even that much worse. Where it just felt really embarrassing for him. It was just like a proxy that got scouted immediately, and then he still went for it. And it just like got totally obliterated.
Yeah.
So
and that's the tale of Bomber so far in Pro League, just inconsistency that he brings out. And I remember there was a game maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. It was Bunny against Bomber, and Bomber played all right, but it's just a lot of those small mistakes that I guess mechanics-wise is just what happens when you get older.